quick update on that whole Greggs brand deal. Do you know Greggs are incompatible with tea? And if you want to argue with me, get a cup of tea from Greggs and tell me that it's compatible. Hello and welcome back. And did you sleep okay? It's been less than 24 hours now since Synology rolled out DSM 7.3. Madness, right? No beta, no nothing. In this video, we are going to be looking at just what has changed with third-party, that is to say, non-Synology branded hard drive use is like in DSM 7.3. I'm sorry about the slightly ad hoc, messy setup here. I was actually prepping for a different video. This caught me by surprise, the drop of DSM 7.3 as much as anyone else. But in this video, I've got two systems set up here, the DS225 Plus and the DS425 Plus. I have got both downloadable PAT files of DSM 7.3 on my laptop, and what I'm going to be doing is a few different kinds of tests. I'm going to be testing out different hard drives and SSDs throughout the course of this video. I'm also going to have a system already with DSM 7.3 set up, as well as another system where we're going to go through the initialization together. But if we hop over to the laptop screen now, just a few things I want to shout out immediately. Number one, if you want to learn more about what's going on with Synology, with hard drive support and DSM 7.3, I recommend friend of the channel, Luca, over at BlackVoid. He did an incredible write-up here. It goes on for what feels like forever, but it covers everything. So again, I'll link to that in the description below. If you want to learn more, I would argue it gives us more information than their own documentation. For example, this is the main official DSM 7.3 page, and I don't think the word hard drive is anywhere in this page. And I know there's more to it than that. If we look for the word compatibility, it's just, there's nothing there. And if you go into the release notes, there's a little bit more. But I think there's already a bunch of people on Reddit already highlighting that even now, the actual detailing around hard drive support in DSM 7.3 is still remarkably unclear, and no doubt the brand has either just now or in the very near future roll out a full press release there. But right now you can head over to the download section of Synology, find the version of DSM 7.3 if you want to install it, and find it there. But I will highlight, remember, although it's not a beta, it's still got a major upgrade, and it does change a few things. And again, we will be doing a dedicated DSM 10.3 video soon, but if you do want to get a hold of it, here's my NAS here. This has got Synology drives inside it. It's got 4 Synology hard drives inside. Let's get rid of that. And I think, oh sorry, it's got 2 Synology hard drives inside. They're both Synology drives, and they are the HDD 5300 there. So again, real straightforward. I shouldn't really have to show you this, but just in case you want to know, if you do want to go down the manual upgrade path, go through those options there, browse, find in your download section the download for your system. So in this case, this is the 425 Plus. Well, that's remarkably embarrassing. It's the one PAT file I didn't have. So we're going to fast forward about a minute. Let's try that again. We go back into it there, go into our download section, and then from there, I'm not even going to cut this out. I'm going to leave 425 in there, and let's see what notifications and warnings we're going to get when upgrading to DSM 7.3. So we're going to it here. We're getting it loaded in. It's uploading onto the NAS. I do have quite a layered network, so there's a bit of a delay there. Again, we've got the usual TNC there all the way along, and as you can see, here's where we find out what exactly we're going to be gaining or losing. So as you can see, important changes, these will be updated, as we can see there, some of the back-end driver managed tools there as well, video drivers as well, something to dig into in another video, I am sure. So I'm going to go ahead and update this system to DSM 7.3, and what I'm going to do is fast forward now to the full installation of that, and then what we're going to do is pop in a couple of different hard drives from different manufacturers into the M.2 bays of the system alongside some M.2 NVMe's and get some idea just what that installation is like. Let's fast forward. Sorry, I should point out, this isn't the same coffee as a video yesterday. That was filmed a little while ago. This is a fresh coffee. I'm not a madman. But this is not an advert for Greggs. I'm going to put it out there. This is not an advert for Greggs. I am a Percy Ingles guy, but unfortunately there isn't one near me. So yeah, don't go to Greggs. There's your advert. And we're back on the desktop here, so let's go ahead and log ourselves in. We're not expecting there to be much change in terms of the GUI or anything like that. But what we really want to see is getting it installed. What do we see upon our initialization there? Then blah, blah, blah. We've got the device analytics. Do you know what? We're just going to skip all of that. It's doing almost like a fresh install there. We can go into the control panel, have a quick look, and we should see DSM 7.3. Right. Again, this system didn't have a huge amount of data on it to start with. This video isn't about deep diving DSM 7.3. This video is just about finding out what's going on with the hard drive support. So again, we've got those drives in there. There's no real change in how they're being seen. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and pop out a couple of trays and install some other drives inside. Alongside that, by the way, I'm also going to be powering down the system in a bit so I can install some M.2s. You should never do that with System Live. If you do that, that is swivel-eyed madness. So we're going for a Seagate Skyhawk surveillance drive and a Western Digital 8 terabyte drive, okay? And that is a Western Digital, it's HC320. Again, based on what Synology is saying about DSM 7.3, makes and models shouldn't make a huge amount of difference, although I'm still wondering about how they're going to approach things like SMR drives or drives that are just genuinely unsuitable for NAS deployments there. But at least for now, we're getting that. That is the WD drive installed inside. And this is our Skyhawk 14 TB drive. And I'm just going to try and create just a couple of separate pools on either one of those drives. It should take about, less than a minute for that to get rigged. I know you can see the lights. I can't really see the lights very well over there. Let's have another sip of coffee. Why not? Make our way into the hard drive list here. Again, they are quite geary drives, 7200 RPM, decent amount of space in there. Consequently, they're going to make some noise. So as we can see in there, and we can see our drives inside, and it's showing me healthy. So we can go ahead there. It's going for our other drive. Let's refresh that tab, and our other drive has appeared, and the drive is being listed as healthy. Also, there's going to be those of you that are wondering about what's happening right now with Dave Script. This system had Dave Script pre-installed, and we can go from here. Dave Russell, by the way, that was doing the HDD database update there. And Task Scheduler, I removed it prior to starting this video, so it wouldn't have added those drives. Consequently, as I say there, there's no script being run there. This is just what we see with these drives. So let's go ahead and create ourselves a couple of storage areas. So we go with our storage pool. We're going to go with a single, so we don't want to go for multiple drives. I'm just going to call this one the WD pool, and we're going to select that WD drive or Western Digital drive there, skip the drive trek, pose, in, bang, done. That is music to my ears. I want to see what happens when it's initialized, when I create a volume, but at the very least right now, that seems pretty darn seamless. While it's doing that in the background, let's go ahead and create a pool with the other drive there. So let's go ahead and use that one. What was that? The Skyhawk drive. Going to go ahead, create that one. I will be rebooting the system shortly, as mentioned, in order to test M.2 NVMEs, but this is already quite a pleasing sign from what we're seeing there. Doing that, let's create ourselves now a volume on that previous drive. So we've got our pool 2, that's the 8 TB. Let's create max, why not? Go ahead, click, 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 and we're in. I'm loving the look of this. Next up, let's go back to our other drive. Hopefully that has done its job. There's SHR pool 3. We're not going to go for a volume description. We've got BTRS or ext4. From there, we've got the encrypted volume option there. I will say there's no worm. I'm going to double check afterwards if worm is supported on the DS425 Plus. But I'm kind of surprised I'm not seeing worm on there. But I actually know I say aloud, worm is something you do during a shared folder creation. So ignore me. I'm not even going to cut that out. I'm just going to show my ignorance here in the video. So let's go with that. And seemingly, it's allowing me to create my storage pools and my volumes with no warnings. That's pretty darn good, right? Well, from there, what we're going to do is we're going to leave that there. I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm just going to shut down this system blanket, even though the volume is not created. I do not advise ever doing that, because what we want to do is get this system turned over and get these M.2s installed. So I'm just going to fast forward to that, but I'm also going to remove some of the drives and then get those other drives inside this other NAS very, very soon for our second video. So I'm just rebooting the system with those M.2s inside. Another opportunity to talk about not the sponsor of today's video, Greggs. I believe their sausage rolls are an affront to humanity. They really are. If you are a connoisseur of sausage rolls like I am, then I'm sure you can all agree that Greggs sausage rolls have about 30 to maybe even 20% pork inside them. So again, for sausage rolls aficionados, don't go to Greggs. Okay, we've got our beep and we are back into the system. Let's go ahead and log our way in. Let's go ahead, enter it in there. Once again, we'll skip all of this stuff here on screen. Skippity, 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 skippity. Don't want to do that. I do advise you secure your account, by the way. Let's go into the storage manager. And there's our M.2. So as we can see, M.2s are still very much off the table. I know they said that, and again, going back to the article from BlackVoid, that is something they highlighted there because they're talking about the quality of SSDs. I don't have any, or at least available, not in use drives that have got like a 1 drive write per day SSD are currently around. But at the very least, this unfortunately confirms that the M.2s are still not usable in terms of even SSD caching from what I'm seeing here. So, for example, if we go for the use available drives, manage available drives there. So say, for example, we want to create an SSD cache, no drives are available for that. If we want to create a storage expansion, go for that one there, no drives are available. So those M.2s are really off the table there as far as Synology is concerned. And just for the hell of it, I'm just going to trash some of these pools. I'm just going to insert a couple more drives. So let's completely remove all of these new pools we've created there. I'm going to keep the other ones that I've got inside because I'm going to be using the live data on those disks, the Synology disks inside for the DSM video coming up very, very soon. This is what I get for not paying attention while typing a password. And what I'm going to do is test a couple more drives inside here just to make sure what they see. And I'm going to go for an arcane drive as well. And by that I mean I'm going to go for a drive that I believe is, I'm not going to say as old as Synology, but I think is at least a decade old, just to see what happens. Sorry for this rather clumsy insert here into the video, but while I was editing it, I've noticed that Synology have made a bunch of its other knowledge pages live, and unfortunately, as good news as some of this is about being able to use any drives we want, once again without those silly warnings, unfortunately it is not a universal thing. And although some of this isn't a surprise, I'll be honest, one of these details is. Up here we can see detailing on what happens in DSM 7.3 on the flash station, the HD massive series, the SA, all of that kind of stuff, all the excess if you use drives that aren't on the compatibility list. Now, we sort of suspected this might be the case if we tried to use drives on these systems that Synology has kind of branded as, you know, larger class systems or enterprise adjacent or enterprisey. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to use them for storage pools, not be able to use them for installation, and that's still bad, I think. But nonetheless, it means that this is not a hard and fast rule for everyone. But really, really, the thing that's bugging me right now is this one right here. I don't have currently a rack station in the studio to test this, so I will get on this soon. But on the RS series, you're still not going to be able to use new installation. As you can see there, it is not supported for use using hard drives that aren't on the official compatibility list. You're not able to create storage pools. You're not able to do a fresh installation. That is bad news. I think what bugs me the most about this is these are classically Plus series systems, even the NVRs, where again, Synology does not have its own range of surveillance drives. This is not ideal to me. Look at that right there. And again, I get it with the M.2s, maybe to a point in terms of durability. But as you can see down here with the DS series, that's the standard disk station series there. We've got hard drives, we've got full support there, as mentioned before, with non-listed drives. So you can see this ranging breakdown from ones that are on their tested list, ones that aren't on their tested list but not confirmed to not work. And the incompatibility list, I imagine, is things like SMR drives. But it's the idea now that these RS series are not going to support, which for me is the big takeaway. And although I stand by most of the things that happen later in this video, I will say that really bugged me. And I just wanted to insert this during the edit because I think it's important enough to just slide into here in the middle. But let's get back to the original recording. So they're wiped. Let's get the drives out. Again, I would always recommend powering down or at least letting drives spin down before you remove them in the fashion that I'm doing it right now. It's not very good for them, but for the sake of this video and brevity, which is laughable when you're thinking about how I do these videos sometimes, I just thought it'd be easier to do it this way. So the first drive we're putting in is a Toshiba MG8TB. This is a fairly standard drive. I believe Synology's own 8TBs are built on this. So if this one gets flagged in some way, that's going to be mega embarrassing. But we'll pop that inside there. And next up, we'll remove our Seagate Skyhawk drive. And for now, we're going to be using, and I'm going to read the model ID for you. This is a Seagate 3TB desktop hard drive. Has it got a date on it for its firmware? I believe it's 2015. This is quite literally a decade old. It's a decade and 2 months. Hopefully I'll get some stock footage on that as well to give you a close-up. But there you go. This is a decade old non-NAS classed drive. Let's see if this goes in here. I actually sort of want the system to flag this. Not aggressively, but I kind of want this drive to at least go, you sure you want to use this? Fine. I don't want it to be blocked, but I kind of would like it if this drive got flagged, because that's not what I would recommend to anyone to use in a NAS system. Again, I'm sure someone will flame me in the comments for that. So there we go. Our first drive, that Toshiba, has been clocked inside there. So let's go ahead and create our storage pool using that one. Just to, cross the I's and dot the T's. Let's get that one in there. Let's have a look. I'm starting to suspect that drive may be so old and so mishandled it may be broken, but we'll find out that later on. We can always trade it out for another drive. But at the moment, it looks like that Toshiba drive, no problems whatsoever. And as before, we should be able to create ourselves a volume here, max. We're just going to put Tosh, which means many things in many different languages. And there we go. We've got that installed inside there. Let's get that. As soon as that pop-up disappears, we'll go back into the hard drive list and see if our horrible drive, so the horrible drive, I'm sorry to call it a horrible drive, I'm sure it's a great drive, is listed. So that is our Seagate 3000DM001 from 2015. I'm absolutely astounded it's healthy. Now, I'm sure those smart tests have got a story to tell. But let's go ahead. Will it allow us to use that drive? Let's make sure we've got that. Seagate 3, select that there. And boom, it is actually allowing us to use that drive. I'm just going to select that proper. So, again, I'm kind of on board with this. Won't lie. This is what people wanted. They wanted to be able to use any drive they wanted without warnings. And fair play, Synology has listened from what I'm seeing here. I'm going to double check this and run some further testing here on the DS225 Plus with a clean installation. And this is going to be with two 30 terabyte Seagate drives, just to make sure that this is nothing to do with any testing or playing around we've done before. But overall, I'm really happy with what I'm seeing here. So let's shut this down and now make our way over to the DS225 Plus here on the other side. If we open up the Synology Assistant, we can see DSM is not installed. Now, initially, this should stop us, shouldn't it? Because right now, it is going to be saying, running on DSM 7.2, that it shouldn't allow me to use any drive I want. Because the first thing it's going to do is ask me to initialize. So right now, I'm going to download that manual pat file. So I'm going to go to that one there, and we're looking for the 225 Plus pat file. And we're going to go ahead and get that uploaded. And we're just going to let the system reinitialize. So that is going to be updating the bootloader firmware inside, which means moving forward, and again, you can, downgrade it if you want. It's a little complicated, involving command line. But at the very least, that means that this DS225 Plus now is by default going to be DSM 7.3, which means it will support, hopefully, the 30 TB drives inside. Now, while it does that, something I postulated in the video that went out yesterday, there is already a lot of Synology 25 series stock floating around. These updates, and again, we'll talk about this more in tomorrow's video. Maybe I'll bring this up on screen. When you look into the DSM 7.2 update, you actually find out a few interesting things. And one of them is that some devices, it's going to be their very last update to Synology's DSM 7.3. At that point, the DSM 7.3, they're not allowed to have further updates. Some, I think, the 2017 and 18 series devices, this will be the last version that they can ever use. That's the last. They're not going to be able to go any further like DSM 8 or anything like that. And again, we'll cover that more in tomorrow's video. But interestingly, what I'm kind of postulating in my head is this DS225 Plus, I've had to flash it. I know what I'm doing. I'm going with the latest firmware. But there are going to be some users that are going to get hold of this device, they're going to buy it, and they're going to boot it without the internet. They're going to set it up the first time without the internet. And I'm not saying it's a huge hurdle, like downloading the latest version of the software online, as it does automatically, will be fine. But there are going to be users that set it up locally. And very, very small percentage, decimal percentage numbers, who are going to use whatever software it arrives with out the gate. It's not impossible. So it wouldn't surprise me if, even though Synology are rolling out this change, that there's going to be the odd user in the next couple of years who is going to buy a 25 series device and not realize that the software has changed to allow for these other drives. This is what I meant when I was talking about in yesterday's video, that the stigma, the mud, the slings and arrows of those last 6 months, they're not going anywhere. And there are going to be users that are going to research who are not going to select the tab in Google that says newest, that aren't going to select the tab that says recent. It's going to be the best results, don't get me started. The result is this misinformation, if you will, is going to continue to exist. And the fact that this isn't a hard drive update and this is a full-scale system OS update is going to cause confliction. But anyway, let's move back onto the DS225 Plus and carry on with our initialization. Do you know, I just realized in hindsight, I'm like 1 foot away from a Synology DS225 Plus with two 30 terabyte hard drives inside, and my microphone is here. I am so sorry how much of this you can pick up on the mic. I'll try my best in the edit, but realistically, this is not the proximity anyone should be to a system with 30 terabyte drives inside. Anyway, so the system has initialized here. It's starting services. It might be a little bit too soon to get into the system. There is our beep, and it's just installing the built-in packages for DSM 7.3, just doing that initial boot up there. And again, we will be talking about DSM 7.3 in a little bit more detail, some of the assisted services. I am genuinely interested in this Synology tiering thing. I wish it was a lot more in-system. Also, there's a nice change coming in with the way the encrypted vault key is managed, something that I complained about a year and a half ago, which seems to be integrating into DSM 7.3. Anyway, let's fast forward. Okay, so initialization has begun, so let's crack on. Give our system a name. Remember, this is a completely clean installation, so none of the records, none of the mucking around we've done in the past exists here anymore. So we can go ahead and go through the initialization steps as standard. And from there, it should take me into DSM 7.3's desktop, and from there we'll go into the storage manager just to see how things have changed. Because already, I do think it's worth highlighting that in DSM 7.2 on the 2025 series, I couldn't even get to this point. This wouldn't allow me to get to this point previously. So we're going to let it go auto update all packages for the hell of it. I'm going to go, just going to skip all of this stuff here. Skip anyway, carry on. We're not going to send any more data to you. And we're just going to get into that desktop there. But as I say, previously you can, by the way, that is how many people are sending me messages about yesterday's video. That's fun. Sorry about, I should have put my phone on silent. So from there, we're just going to crack on. Don't want to secure the account, want to crack on. And let's create ourselves a storage area. So from here, we're going to go with an SHR. We're going to go and call this one 30TB for the hell of it. And there we are. There are our two 30 terabyte drives inside there. Click next, click drive skip, click max for the volume. Boom, 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 boom. No warnings, no alerts. Absolute gravy. That, to me, is what I wanted Synology to do, what, a decade ago? Almost as old as that drive I've just stuck inside there. This is good news. This is good news. I mean, don't get me wrong, Synology could turn this off at any moment. Don't get me wrong, Synology shouldn't have done this anyway. And don't get me wrong, this whole thing has been a farce. But I have to give credit where it's due. They have switched it around. They have allowed users to just use the drives they want to use. And to me, this is only good news. And we're going to the storage area. There are our 30 TB drives. Now, what's missing? We're still waiting on M.2 NVMe opening up there. They need to get hotter on that compatibility listing there. Also, again, circling back to BlackVoid's article, I do think I should, because I want to make sure BlackVoid gets as much credit as possible, because I do think, notwithstanding he's done the best write-up on this, he also covers a very interesting point here with regards to Synology's benefit system of using their own drive. So extended warranty, features like express replacement. Now, these are going to be very regionally based, but having some of these benefits when a device is bought together with Synology drives, even the Plus series drives, to get a 5-year warranty rolled in together, I'm not going to say it's for everyone, but I am going to say there are going to be users that like that. And again, this is what the plan should have been. If you go back to my original videos, I was saying, he said arrogantly, I was saying Synology should never have blocked people using other drives. They should have incentivized and improved the value and the proposition of their own drives alongside them. Other brands do that right now. You have people like Unify that do that as well with their own media, but let you use your own. But if you go for the complete package, there are net benefits. Bottom line, again, I recommend checking out BlackVoid's article. We're going to do our own write-up, but frankly, as much as I'm going to enjoy writing it, it won't be as good as his, and I hope this video has been helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be doing a full DSM walkthrough very, very soon, but I just wanted to get this out there immediately because I think this was the most pertinent question that a lot of Synology's materials at the launch of DSM 7.3 wasn't given a clear enough answer to. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoy what we do, sure, the ad revenue helps, but it doesn't cover the cost of these videos. So if you want to support what we do, there's Ko-Fi, there's Patreon, there's obviously donations here or YouTube membership, but the best way you can support us, really, that's the best for both of us, if you are interested in buying any of the devices we talk about and you want to support what we do, use the links in our description. Using those links results in a small commission come to me and Eddie at NAS Compares. It's just us doing this. It allows us to keep doing what we do, but also allows you to passively support creators at zero additional cost to you other than the thing you were going to buy anyway. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.